Hey folks, Matt Easton here, Schola Gladiatoria, and that's right, Schola Gladiatoria, you have to remember, isn't just a YouTube channel, it's a fencing club, and thanks to our, in the UK's efforts at vaccination and various other things, we're relatively soon going to be able to get back to training, which there's going to be a huge sigh of relief, a huge tightening of bellies, I imagine, and a lot of people worrying about their cardio, myself included. But the good news is that training's going to be back soon, and that means that training equipment is coming out of storage for many people. I imagine there's a lot of rusty swords around in the world, and probably even rusty fencing masks in some cases as well, and some probably smelly kit that could be done with some washing. But a lot of people have taken this period to get new equipment, and new equipment has continued to be developed. Now, what we're going to be looking at here is some really cool new fencing gear from Tempus Fugitives, link below, that my buddy Jay Maxwell has sent to me. So first thing to mention is that this is a free sample. It has to be said, on my channel, most of the stuff I get to review is free samples, so it's kind of par for the course. So is there some bias in there? I don't think so. I get sent quite a lot of stuff. So if something's crap, I say so. If something needs improving, I say so. So what you're getting here is, frankly, a fairly impartial review. Second thing to say is that this fencing gear, which we're going to look at, has been tailor-made to me, tailor-fitted to me, so we'll see how that came out, because that's down to my measurements, not necessarily them. But the second thing as well is that this is for specific purpose, and this is relatively light fencing gear. And we have to remember, when we're talking about whether it's fencing masks or gloves or jackets or whatever else, a lot of the gear that we have is specific to the weapons that we do. And so the jacket that you choose for longsword might not be the same jacket that you use for small sword, or that you use for sword and buckler or saber or whatever. So here's the box that came from Tempus Fugitives, very quickly and efficiently, of course. And let's have a look and see what's inside. So I think that I've got 2 items of clothing in here. No, there's three things. Right, okay, let's break this down. So the first thing we've got, is a very silky smooth and with the logo on. And I know that Jay at Tempus Fugitives, so the team there, it's not just Jay actually, can do logos for your club. And I think they can do it in different ways, but anyway, these are printed and pretty, apparently they're pretty tough printed. I know some printing can come off quite easily, but so this is essentially like a rash guard, okay? So I'll put that, I'm not going to strip off in front of you. I don't know whether you'll be happy or sad about that, but I'll put this on underneath the fencing jacket. I'll show it on in a second, but we'll just look at what else we've got here. So that is probably wicking. It's quite stretchy, and it prevents friction, and helps keep the sweat from going too much into the jacket and all that kind of stuff. Then next up we have got a very nice looking, so I should mention as well, so this jacket, and I think the breeches as well, are made by PBT. So PBT are a very well-known and established fencing manufacturer. They make modern or Olympic sport fencing gear, but they also make HEMA specific gear. And in fact, I've used PBT stuff for years. There's actually a PBT shop not that far away from me, but I've used a PBT mask for quite a long time, which I think I've reviewed in the past. But anyway, PBT gear, very well known. In fact, my bag is PBT, if I remember correctly. Yeah, my sword bag is PBT. So very well known manufacturer, and what Tempus Fugitives have done, they've basically worked with PBT to develop specific products for them. So this is a very nice looking jacket. This is, as mentioned, it's not dissimilar to a modern sport fencing jacket in terms of its kind of weight and thickness and stuff like that. You'll notice, incidentally, it's got the PBT, and this is 350 Newton rated. What does that mean? Well, quite simply, that's a penetration. I get to actually say the word penetration on my channel legitimately. It's a penetration test. I'm not gonna do a penetration demonstration on this video, but I have another channel for that. No, I don't. Essentially, it resists that newtons of a puncture thing, like a prod, going into it to test that a broken blade won't go through. Usually, depending on the rules and your club's rules and tournament rules and all other things, this might have to be worn with an additional plastron underneath, depending on the rules and regulations of where you're fencing. For normal club fencing, you probably wouldn't need to, but anyway, it depends on your club. Check with your club leaders and that kind of stuff. But 350 Newton, which is the sort of the basic competition level, I think, for modern foil fencing. So if you were doing small sword or various other types of HEMA weapon, indeed many people for sabre, you could use this. Now, I should also mention as well, so I personally actually like wearing a lighter jacket and then adding things to it, like forearm guards, elbow cups and this kind of stuff. Other people prefer to have a heavier jacket that's got stuff built in. So there is a degree of choice here as to what you use this jacket for and what you augment it with, whether a plastron underneath, a chest protector, plastic chest protector, which is not a plastron, some people get confused, forearm defenders, elbow defense, maybe even shoulder defense, that kind of stuff. So how you use this jacket and what you use it for is really up to you. So there's a brief look at the rash guard. As you can see, it's basically a lycra type material that goes underneath the jacket. It's bloody cold out here, so I'm not going to keep you looking at me in a rash guard for too long. And now let's stick the jacket on. I should mention as well, it's got the Schola Gladiatoria logo on the sleeve, which I sent through to Jay. That's an optional extra, I think. And I think that a lot of people will want that on their jackets, and you can choose where to put it as well. I chose to put it just out of tradition really on the rear arm. I'm mostly doing sabre and one-handed weapons these days, as you guys know, so having it on the rear shoulder seems to make sense for many reasons actually, partly because if we're filming from behind you can see my club logo on that side, but also there's a tradition of not having patches or other things that might catch blades on the side which leads. For me, a right-hander, that'd be the right side. First thing I have to say as I put this jacket on, it's quite snug, is the sleeves are long enough, which is really bloody nice because I've got gibbon arms, and I often have problems with just generally with clothes, especially with jackets, with sleeves not being long enough for me. So it's really nice that the sleeves are long enough. That's really, really cool. I'm going to have to edit while I move the mic here, because otherwise the mic's going to end up underneath the jacket. Okay, let's see how this goes. It's all looking good so far. Really nice quality. The zip is robust as well, and I have to say, in the early days of HEMA, when HEMA gear started being made, some of the zips weren't up to the level of use, but this zip looks really, really nice. Of course, it velcros all around there. Let's have a little look at the, oh, haven't quite got it on right there. It's a bit difficult to do this while looking at myself in the camera, I have to say, and trying not to knock the mic off. So there's a flap which overlaps the zip. Now, one thing I would say, so does it, yeah, it fits really well actually, I think. I don't know what it looks like to you guys, but it's not too tight and it's not too big. It's just about right, yeah. It's like it was tailored to me, which it was. So one thing I have to say about zips on either side. So this is a potentially controversial topic. Just grab a feather here. So if I'm doing longsword, often, especially if I'm in any kind of right-sided guard, if I'm in coda longa distesa, let's use Italian terms, Fiore terms. Coda longa distesa or posta di donna or posta di finestra on the right-hand side, I'm presenting my left side forward. Now, admittedly, this jacket is probably not what you're going to use for longsword, but there are other styles, Langmesser for example and stuff, where you might have the left side facing, or indeed you might just be a left-handed person. So be aware of the fact that if your left side of your body is pointing this way, it does expose this flap under which is the zip. The reason it's designed this way is primarily for right-handed people who are primarily presenting the right side of their body towards the opponent, which in fairness is what you generally do with sabre and small sword and backsword, quite a lot of the time in rapier as well, although rapier is either direction. In fact, if you're doing rapier and dagger, often the left side will be forward to begin with, so that's something to bear in mind. But if you're using single rapier, most people are going to have the right side forward most of the time. So bear in mind the system that you do might affect whether you want to go for a jacket which has the zip on one side or the other in this way. But in terms of the quality, this is absolutely lovely. It's really stretchy material, which I kind of weirdly like in a way I didn't expect it. Yeah, so you've got inserted elastic bits on the wrist here to keep it nice and tight and not have openings for things to go up. Obviously, usually you'd be wearing gloves and the glove cuff would overlap the sleeve, but nevertheless it's nice that it's tight to the wrist because it helps it fit underneath the glove cuff. But the fit's lovely on this. It's really, really nice. And certainly for me, for instructing, this will be a great jacket for, I don't want to wear a hot jacket all the time, but I want to be wearing a jacket of some kind. Certainly for small sword, and I have to say, will I use this for sabre? I think I might try, yeah. If I use this for sabre, bearing in mind that we're using 800 gram military weight sabres, practice sabres, they can hit pretty hard. I mean, they can hit pretty much, not as hard as a longsword feather most of the time, but they can do on occasion. So I generally want a little bit more padding. I don't want the most padded jackets. I like to have something a bit lighter and then add a forearm guard and an elbow guard on my right side. I might try this with sabre, but it is perhaps on the thinner side for that. But then again, maybe with a chest protector and with the arm guards on, maybe. I might give it a go. But beautifully made stuff. The rash guard underneath it, in fact, works very well with it because it means that you get no friction like you would with a normal t-shirt, cotton or whatever. The two surfaces slide against each other. In fact, historically there was a tradition of wearing silk underneath certain arming clothes as well, or having them lined with silk, and it's for this reason. So this is the kind of spandex or lycra type materials that rash guards are made of have the same effect. They don't bind with the jacket, so that's actually very, very comfortable. So I'm almost certainly going to be using this rash guard quite a bit. One thing I have to say before I move on to the breeches, which are the other element of this, which I will put on for you, is that Jay has thrown in this really nice face mask, which obviously in these times is a useful thing to have around, and it's got a logo on it, so there's a bit of fun. You can get, and it's quite stretchy, breathable material. That could be quite good when we go back to training. So there's another thing that Tempus Fugitives can supply. Again, check out the link below. Of course, they're suppliers of all sorts of weapons and stuff, so loads of different HEMA gear. Right, let's have a little look at these breeches. First of all, let's look at them off me, as it were. So what are breeches? For those of you who don't know, breeches are a bit like +4s. They're short, they're like knickerbockers, they're short trousers, okay, traditionally worn for fencing to protect the groin and the thighs from thrust, potentially from blades, okay, from a broken blade going in, or just generally from impact. So they're not padded or armoured in that way, unless you specifically get ones that are, but these are purely really for penetration protection and to look good, I suppose, as well. So these are PBT 350 Newton rated, and they've got the club logo put on there as well, which of course you can do, or you could get anything else put on there. You could get your own face put on there if you want, I imagine. So 350 Newton rated breeches, good idea. Another thing that people don't think about is they tend to think about thrust, and if a blade breaks, especially if it breaks up here on a mask or on a chest or even a sword arm or the other person's weapon, the travel of the blade can go down and might clip you on the thigh. And everyone thinks about thrusting wounds to the chest or neck or things like this, but don't forget that if the broken end of a blade gashes across your femoral artery, you're quite screwed, okay? I mean, I hope that someone can stand on it for long enough for the ambulance to get there, but potentially a person can bleed out quite quickly from a cut in their thigh. So your thighs are very vulnerable, particularly to broken blades. And I have to say, I have unfortunately in my 20 plus years of doing HEMA, a couple of times I have seen unbroken blades penetrate people. I smirked purely because of the word penetrate there, because it wasn't funny at all. So I have seen a 6mm blunt point go into someone, and I know that there have been hand injuries, there have been leg injuries and all sorts. So it can unfortunately happen sometimes that a blunt blade because it just doesn't flex when it should have done, and because of where it hits and how it hits and it gets caught and things like this, sometimes can penetrate a person's body. A point doesn't need to be sharp necessarily to go into someone if there's force behind it. So breeches are a very, very good idea, and really I think that probably in time they will be mandatory for all HEMA competitions. Certainly some HEMA competitions already require them, and probably I think that they should become mandatory in time when they're available for everyone. So let's put these on and I'll tell you what I think about them. So there we go, we've got the breeches on. I've got a stool to stand on so you can actually see the breeches, as it were. So you'll see that they come up to just below knee level, in fact quite a bit below knee level on me, which is quite good. And you wear whatever socks you want to wear. Obviously I wear club colours. And in terms of where they come up to there, and actually these are, I would say, too big for me by a couple of inches, but that doesn't matter because they've got straps over the shoulders, braces we would call them. I think Americans might call them suspenders, which means a type of women's lingerie in the UK. But anyway, that's something for a different video. But anyway, straps that go over your shoulders, and those, they hold them up a bit like waders. So the main thing is that your thighs are now protected suitably, and I think it all looks pretty swish. It looks pretty good. I'm very happy really with the fit. I would say the breeches are too big for me around the middle, but it kind of doesn't matter, and actually it kind of gives more comfort, I suppose. The only thing I would notice is that with the rash vest, I can feel, because it's quite slippery and slidey, I can feel the strap coming off my shoulders, so I'll probably cross those straps over to prevent them from sliding off the end of my shoulders in use underneath. But that's a minor detail. In terms of the quality and the fit, obviously this was, I sent my measurements in to have this done, and if you got these from Tempus Fugitives, then you would do similar. But as I say, I'm pretty, balancing on a stool here, I'm pretty happy with this get-up. I think it's pretty damn nice, and I'll certainly be using it. It's great for instruction, great for teaching at events and stuff like that, because it means that you've got a covering, you've got a Newton rated covering that's thrust protective. It's great for lighter HEMA weapons, certainly for small sword, maybe for rapier, depending on what style you practice and what type of rapiers you use and things like that. Arguably for sabre, I think. Some people will probably be happy with it for longsword, with augmented and with additional bits added on. For sabre, I think it's maybe a bit on the thin side, but then again, with forearm and added elbow cup, I would probably put a plastic chest protector under here as well, because I wouldn't want to be getting thrusts from a sabre in the middle of my sternum without something a bit added there. So it's not really padded. But yeah, as I say, for lots of general purpose use, absolutely brilliant. And the only other thing I noticed actually was the logo. Which side is it on? There we go. The Schola logo on here. If you're getting these made with a logo on, get them put lower, because I noticed that the way I've had it done, the jacket overlaps the logo and you don't see the logo, so there's no real point in having a club logo on the breeches if it's covered by the jacket. So you could have it stuck on your butt if you like, but have it a bit lower down than where this jacket comes to, I'd say, and that's a bit of advice, I guess, for Tempus Fugitives. So there we go, very nicely made. Thank you very much to Jay and the team for sending this over to me. I'm very happy with it, and I'll get a lot of use out of these. And funnily enough, in terms of the breeches, I will use the breeches week in, week out for all sparring, because I do have various other breeches and I've never been happy with the length or fit of any of them, and these are super comfortable. I could sleep in these, I could spend the rest of the day in these. These are really, really comfy, stretchy, smooth breeches. And of course, I wear a knee and shin protectors when I'm doing sabre or longsword or sword and buckler or whatever. So I don't feel the need for any additional protection up on my thighs up here in terms of impact damage. So these are absolutely perfect, because they give me that you know, protection against thrusts or potentially a broken blade cut as well. Also, just briefly to mention the blade catcher, so-called blade catcher you've got here to prevent things that slide up the jacket coming up underneath the mask. I will also mention that Tempus Fugitives have a special new type of gorget or throat protector, which maybe I'll review in a future video, which looks like it would combine very well with this. Also tucked away at the bottom of the box, Tempus Fugitives have put in a lovely pair of yellow socks. If I'm wearing breeches, I normally wear yellow socks, black and yellow, black and yellow. It's the Schola colours. And you'll notice that they've got the embroidered emblem on. And I've got to say, these socks are awesome. I've just pulled one of them on quickly. And they are both longer and stretchier than any of my other long socks. And so usually, you know, I think people use socks from other sports, things like football and rugby and stuff. But these are purpose made and they're really nice, really soft and stretchy and long. I might have to get some more of these, but yeah, lovely things. So again, you can get those from Tempus Fugitives, link below. Anyway, I hope that's been useful for the HEMA viewers on this channel. Check out the link below, and also, you know, check out the link below because they sell a lot of other things as well that you might be interested in, and they stock a lot of weapons from different manufacturers and this kind of stuff, and they're getting their own products developed that you can only get through Tempus Fugitives. Anyway, thanks a lot to them for sending this through. I hope this has been useful, and I'll see you soon again on the channel for another video. Cheers, folks. Thanks for watching. We've got extra videos on Patreon. Please give our Facebook a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Cheers, folks.